Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast. This Week in America. Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop is the critically acclaimed preteen and teen fiction from Jenae Navarrette. With her parents still urging her to decide what she wants to major in when she goes to college, her annoying brother giving her advice, and her parents telling her she must help them pay a hefty vet bill when her dog injures his leg, Christina Redstone is on a mission to show everyone around her that she can solve her problems on her own, although sometimes she needs a little help from her best friend, Jenae. She sees a chance to prove herself when money turns up missing at her job at the pet store, and she's determined to find the culprit. Originally from Hartselle, Alabama, Jenae Navarrette graduated from the University of North Alabama with a BA in journalism and music. In 1999, she partnered with Ed Hansen Productions on a fantasy film, The Valiant Lady. Now, in addition to teaching private piano and voice for over 20 years, she's written a prequel to this book, A Job for Christina, and Dirk and His Musical Friends. She's married to a native of Tunisia, and she currently lives in Alexandria, Virginia. Jenae Navarrette, author of Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop, is our guest on This Week in America. Jenae, welcome to the program. A pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
It is a pleasure. What a remarkable job you've done with this story. I love the story you're telling, the lessons. It's done in such an entertaining way. What prompted you to write the book? Where did this idea, Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop, where did this idea come from?
Well, I think beginning in the latter part of the 1990s and into the 2000s, I felt like books for kids kind of got dark. With Harry Potter, after the first couple of Harry Potter books, yes. Series got darker, and after that there was Twilight, and even on TV the comedies were replaced with dark dramas and reality shows. And there is a place for everything, don't get me wrong, and I did enjoy the Harry Potter books except for the last one. But it just felt like there's an imbalance of darker books and more lighthearted books, and I think there's a need for those lighter books out there.
Well, you can tell that by even looking at the cover. It's like, okay, the book cover I love. It's colorful. It grabs my attention. It's like, this is going to be a fun read, and it is. Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop by Jenae Navarrette. I'll give you her website and information as we go through. A book available at Amazon, wherever books are sold. Who is the ideal reader of this book? Who did you have in mind as you were writing this?
Of course, older kids, preteens, teens, but also anyone that likes a good mystery. You know, if you like to read something that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, what's going to happen next, I think this book is for all those people.
Well, it is. It's an enjoyable read, an entertaining read. I mentioned themes in it and done in an entertaining way. Talk about some of the themes that you were attempting to write about here, to present to the young reader.
Of course, facing our problems, solving our problems, figuring out how to solve our problems. Taking responsibility is seen in all of my Christina books. Being empathetic, just being kind to each other, but also not jumping to conclusions before you have all the facts. These are some of the books. And in all of my work, you'll see some money issues. I grew up lower middle class, so I have those themes in there.
I can obviously relate to that as well. I know exactly what you're talking about. The book is Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop. Jenae Navarrette is the author and our guest on the program. I love what you've done with Christina Redstone. Talk about her, how you developed this character, because you really fall in love with her from the beginning.
I am a bit like her. She does have trouble making decisions. I mean, I can't decide between writing books, screenplays, or music. She also has a good heart, though. She's very kind-hearted, and I'd like to think that I'm also like that as well. And she's independent. Well, she's 16, but she's trying, that 16, this teen years, Kids are exerting their independence, and I'm very much like that too. Um,
It's interesting. So there is a touch of, maybe a little more than a touch of Christina in you.
yes.
Interesting that you would take those characteristics and write in such a charming way. The book is Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop. Our guest is the author Jenae Navarrette. That's N-A-V as in Victor, A-R-R-E-T-T-E. Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop. You Google that. The book's available. Jenae is on Facebook as well. We'll give you that information as we go through the program. I talk about how the book is relevant to young people today, and you work with young people in giving lessons. So you're really aware of where they are and the struggles that they are going through. How is this story relevant to these people, to the kids that you teach?
Yes, I do. I teach piano. I teach voice. I think we're all, even as teens, we are starting to think about our future and make some goals for ourselves and some plans. And I think this book can be helpful to young people. And we're also kind of just figuring out, the kind of person we are and just figuring out ourselves. And I think that this book is helpful for that as well.
Especially, I would think, when you see someone else, especially your age, going through some of the questions that you're going through. And, I mentioned in the background, she's got everybody trying to tell her what she needs to do. She's trying to figure out what she really wants to do. Along comes this opportunity. Let's talk about that for a second, because an opportunity presents itself at the pet shop, and she's determined, I'm going to make the best of this and show people that I can take charge.
Yes. She does. And I think that's part of exerting the independence, saying, I can do this. I don't need other people trying to tell me how to solve this problem. I can do this, and I can show that I can do this.
And she is able to do it. Christina Redstone, the character you'll fall in love with as you're reading Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop. Jenae Navarrette, the author and our guest on the program. What advice would you give younger readers? I guess you've done it in the way of the story that you've told in this book, but the younger readers in all of your books, and the younger people that you deal with in your lessons, what are some of the lessons you hope that they learn?
The best advice I can give really is to enjoy life more. We all face our own issues, we all face our own problems, and we have to deal with those. But I also think it's important to laugh and not take ourselves and everything around us so seriously. There's a beautiful quote I keep hearing: you can take what you do, you can take that serious, but not yourself so seriously. Be willing to laugh, stress less. If I could go back, I definitely would stress less, and not care so much about what other people think about you. Just be yourself.
That's such an important message. And right now, with everything, the technology, the social media, everything we've got out there, it's sort of like difficult to be yourself. Sometimes you think you're trying to form yourself to be what other people perceive you to be, and you're afraid of that individuality. And that's really unfortunate. Christina's Escapades, the book, she's at the pet shop in this particular story. You've got others you're working on. What are the other books that you're working on?
So Dirk and His Musical Friends was really written more for my students as a way to help them learn about composers of the pieces they were working on in a more fun way. I also have A Job for Christina on Amazon. That's the prequel if you want to see about her earlier adventure, if you're interested. I have written. I worked with Ed Hansen Productions on a fantasy film. I've also worked with producer David Sheldon. He produced the 48 Hour Show, I think, back in the 80s. We worked on a Civil War script. Big budgets. I know, didn't sell.
Sounds like a great story, though, and I love what you've done with your career. You're sort of doing whatever you feel like doing. You're not like pigeonholed that, okay, I'm just going to do children's books, teens book, and that's it. You have other interests as well, don't you?
I do. I'm currently working on a TV pilot. And again, it's about healing. My main character is an African-American HVAC tech who is trying to find his biological parents. He was raised in foster care. And along the way, he learns about himself. He learns about letting go of some things. I think it's also important today, some important lessons to learn today. I also do write music. I have 75,000 listeners on radio airplay. And in my free time, I like to play tennis with my son. I played in high school, still enjoy the sport. I like to bake cookies. I'm a cookie monster. I come from a family of cookie monsters. And of course, reading and writing.
When did you start reading? When did that start for you? I get the impression probably at an early age you would lose yourself in a book. Is that how it happened?
I give all the credit to my mother. She liked to write stories too. She wrote a lot about her family and growing up on the farm in rural Alabama. And we read, as I said, we were lower middle class and we didn't have a lot of money to go shopping or do those things, but we could go to the library. Didn't cost anything to go to the library.
Yes.
And we checked out books. My mother read to me when I was little, and I just continued reading all the way through school and even now.
Who are some of the writers that maybe influenced you in your writing style, or authors that you really enjoyed because they really did a nice job of telling a story and presenting it in a way that a young person could relate to?
Beverly Cleary. I remember Ramona and Beezus. I had an older sister, so I could totally relate to that. Judy Blume's books. I read Super Fudge. I think I still have a copy of Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing at my mother's house. I should pass that along.
Yes.
And I also loved the Nancy Drew mystery books. And you can see a little bit of influence of all of these authors in my work. I try to put a little modern twist. I try to be more inclusive. I don't specify in the Christina books, but Jenae, her best friend, is African American, and she is reflective of the strong African American friends I have had in my life. I wanted that for Christina.
Julie Navarrette is our guest on the program. If you're Googling, that's N-A-V as in Victor, A-R-R-E-T-T-E. Her book is available at Amazon, all of the usual places. Julie's website is julienavarrette.ampbk.com. That's a lot, and if you go to our website, you'll be able to copy that and link on directly to Julie's website. And the book available, again, in all of the usual places, as well as other books by Julie. And what's the best way to follow your music? You had mentioned that. How can people join? If 75,000 people are there, you're doing something right. So how can we join as well?
Radio airplay. I'm actually on all the digital platforms. So Spotify, Apple, but radio airplay as well. It seems to be I have more listeners on radio airplay. I always want to be on the radio.
That's where we will direct people. And I mentioned the Facebook connection. What's the best way to track you down on Facebook?
Books for Kids. Yeah, Julie Navarrette, Books for Kids.
That's
on Facebook.
Very simple in finding Julie and having a chance to read the books. You mentioned the other projects you're working on. Will there be more Christina books? Will we follow Christina in more books?
I don't know. I kind of have an inkling of an idea, but I kind of have put her aside for the moment. I just had this idea for the TV show that I will be posting on Inktip. I do have a few of my scripts there. So I don't know. Never say never is my motto.
What is it like working with the young kids today? And I say that because you can relate so well to them and what you went through. But you had books there. Everybody went to the library. Now you're torn. Sometimes you mention books and they look at you funny because if it's not on a tablet, then I don't understand what you're talking about. Are kids missing out on something now, or are we overstating that?
I wish on one hand, I wish that we had all this technology when I was growing up.
Yes.
However, I think we just have to find that balance for kids. And that's how I teach. I have a 14-year-old. So that's how I'm trying to teach him. Find a balance. It's fine. You can play games on your phone, and that's your downtime, but also go outside, read a book. And he does that. We just have to find that balance. I think there's good in, both.
Well, talk about the role of arts, and you deal with that on an ongoing basis when in the classes you teach. And unfortunately, as schools face budget crunches, one of the first things they talk about is eliminating the arts or cutting back on the arts. Talk about how important that is in creating a well-rounded person, a person that has imagination, a person who has creativity. How important are the arts to actually all of us, but in particular young people as they grow?
Oh, I think it's very important. The arts is a way that kids can express themselves. We have kids in our class who have been able to talk about things they can't. Things might come up, and they're able to talk about things that they wouldn't at home. So it's a way of not just expressing themselves, but a way of it's really cathartic too. In the arts, you can, get your anger out through, whether it's visual arts or dancing or singing. And we don't even talk about those, what we deem negative emotions, but the arts is such a great way of letting those emotions go. So there's so many aspects to working in the arts, so many positive aspects for kids.
Kids, and I'm even thinking as adults as you're talking here, when things are difficult, you pick up a book, you're lost in that. It takes you a couple pages and you're back in the story and you're transported to another place in time, quite possibly. Does that work for you as a writer when you want to just sort of slow things down? You go back, get the computer, the legal pad, whatever you use to write on, and you sort of get absorbed in telling the story. Is that a good escape for you as well?
Yes, absolutely. When I am working full into a story, it is, I don't think about anything else. I can focus on that. And absolutely, it is an escape. I don't have to think about what's going on in the world, or I can really focus on this story and how I'm bringing some light to the world and some kind of positive energy into the world.
I would think with that, and you say you've got maybe an idea for something with Christina. How difficult would it be to walk away from her? You've created her. You've created her world, which you've shared with her during doing the books. How difficult would it be to say, okay, Christina is gone now?
Oh, I didn't even think about, I guess I just don't even think about it.
And that was cold to me to say she's gone now. I mean, you just have her on hold now. She's in a closet somewhere. You can get her out when you want to. But I would think that would be difficult when you create somebody, especially somebody that reflects sort of who you were at that age, to say, okay, I can't tell the story anymore. But it sounds like the door's still open.
Yes, I'm leaving that door open. I'm not closing that door. So, yeah, she may come back.
Talk about the music that you do as well. You're so diversified in your talents. Now, you write the music as well as perform it?
I do. I do. I haven't gotten as far as I don't have a band. I'm a solo artist. But my signature song, "My Girl Is Gone," is "This Girl Is Gone," has gotten some good feedback. And one thing I've tried to do, I used to teach kinder music and music together many years ago, and I find that our music is, especially in this culture, it's very a lot of it sounds the same. It's very duple meter, or in 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
I just have wanted to, and I have a couple of songs on all digital. You can find me on radio airplay, but it's on all digital media. But there's a couple that are in asymmetric times. There's one in 5/4. There's another one in 7. I try to kind of weave it into making something that anybody could listen to. So, State of the Earth it's in 5. It's kind of a nice with guitar. I don't play guitar. I have a wonderful coworker who has a wonderful recording studio and can play all instruments.
Fantastic.
But that's pop, and then I have one in 7 that's kind of a ballad, maybe kind of a movie kind of sound. But I'm just interested in sharing with the world just something new, new and creative, especially in this culture.
Well, it's needed, and you've done such a remarkable job with this book, Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop. And talk about what she's going through. I got a minute or so left here, but she has this tension that I know young guys go through, obviously young girls as well, where you sort of like this person and then this other person comes into the picture. Without giving away too much, she really sort of has to juggle that as well, doesn't she? She's got a guy, and guy's in a band. This is cool. And got a coworker that she flirts with some as well. She's going through all those young emotions that all of us go through as we come of age.
Exactly. It's those that I don't know if it's teenage angst or just emotions, puberty, growing up, dealing with that, how you deal with the opposite sex and your own feelings. She's dealing with that. Yeah. Something that preteens, teens, young adults deal with, just figuring that out. Commitment. Of course, she's only 16. But right, it's just figuring out what's right for you.
How much fun has this been for you? You've got all of these outlets, and we've talked specifically in the program today about the book, but be able to share these stories, to see the responses to these stories. What's this feel like to use your arts in touching people in a positive way?
I love it. This is my mission. As I mentioned before, just to share some positive stories, some positive music, some positive energies, a little bit of light in what seems to be a dark world.
Yes.
It's good for me, and I hope that I can do some good with just sharing my talents and what I love to do. It's fun.
Well, you are touching young lives in a positive way. The reviews have been excellent for Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop. The book is written by our guest, Jenae Navarrette. I'm going to spell that if you're Googling. N-A-V as in Victor, A-R-R-E-T-T-E. The book is available wherever books are sold. Other books from by Jenae there as well. Remember that when you go to Radio Airplay, you can join the tens of thousands of fans that Jenae has on Radio Airplay. Check her out on Facebook as well. And all these links on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And I thank King Pages Press, the author's marketing consultant, for arranging our conversation today. Jenae, this has really been fun. Hopefully we can do it again. Thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. The book, Christina's Escapades at the Pet Shop, Jenae Navarrette. Information on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And we're back on today's program right after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, Associate Producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, Segment Producer. Ben Watson, Webmaster. Otto Bechet, Director of Engineering and TV Production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, Executive Producer of This Week in America.